What is up, Flockers? That is my fellow lockers and aspiring lockers. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the importance of separating your locks and why it is so crucial to a healthy lock journey. So if you're interested in that, then stick around. If you have watched any sort of lock content, then you've probably heard people talking about that you need to separate your locks and how crucial it is to your lock journey and whatnot. But maybe you haven't heard specifically why it's important to separate your locks. So I wanted to spend a little time and talk about that today. And hopefully the birds will let me do that, because apparently they have a lot to say too. But the main reason why you want to make sure that you are going through and separating your locks is because you do not want them to combine at the root bed. That is one of the biggest problems or things that you will run into on your lock journey when it comes to your roots and your lock bed and just the integrity of your locks. And so you want to keep your locks separated at the root so that you are not having them combining. Now I realize that there are different strokes for different folks, and not everybody is going to do things the same way. Not everything that works for one person is going to work for another. So the main thing is to find out what works for you and what's best for you. But know that it's important to pay attention to your locks trying to combine. And me personally, I like to go through and separate my locks anytime I wash, which is going to be usually about once a week, and then I do it sporadically throughout the week. When I do it once a week after I shower and wash my hair, I'm typically going through and going lock by lock. I'm not going to say that I go through each and every lock individually, but I do go through several just really quickly and make sure that there are no hairs that have combined one lock to another. And if they have, I'll simply pull them apart or split them. Some people call it popping your locks, to make sure that there's no serious marrying. And like I said, sometimes throughout the week, in the middle of the week, I'll just run my hands through my hair on a regular day, you know, not specifically to separate my locks, but just I got hand and hair syndrome. And as a result of that, I do go through and I just sometimes will find locks that have started trying to combine, especially as we are more and more weeks out from our retie. The locks tend to want to try to marry more. So I will go through and separate them accordingly. Something you will find over time with your locks is that if you're not taking the time to separate them periodically, that you could potentially weaken the base and weaken the foundation of your lock. And so it is really important to make sure that you are going through and separating them, probably most likely when they are damp or wet, so that you cause the least amount of damage. But like I said, you do risk weakening the base or the foundation of your lock if you are not separating them on time, and if there is too much combining or marrying of your locks from you waiting too long to do this. And the longer you wait to separate the locks, the more tangled it's going to be at the base of the lock, which could result, like I said, not only in thinning, but sometimes even possibly having to cut and use scissors to separate the locks, because it can get that bad at times, again, if you wait too long. So it's really important that you are being diligent about your maintenance and making sure that you just keep up and take note of your hair and what it's doing from time to time. This isn't something that you need to do on a daily basis, but it is something that you need to be aware of and take the time to make sure that you're paying attention to your hair and what it's doing and what it's saying to you. Now, this might go without saying, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyways, because maybe not everybody knows it, but the longer you wait, the harder it is going to be to separate and to do it with the least amount of damage possible. All right, the longer you wait, the more your locks are going to combine, the harder it's going to be. Like I said, you might have to go in there with scissors or with some type of a knife or something to cut them apart, which none of us want to do, because then you are weakening your lock. Maybe hairs that should have been in lock A are now in lock B because of the way that you had to separate them. So it's better just to do it regularly, because when you have to go in there and do the most, it hurts your soul and it takes longer. When you're doing it regularly, you may have 1 or 2 or 3 hairs that are combining between a lock. But if you wait weeks or months to do it, then at that point you may have complete combination of locks to where, like I said, you can't just simply go in and separate them with your fingers and pop them. You're having to go in there and do surgery on them bad boys. And the last thing anyone wants to do is to have to go in with scissors and slice and dice up on their locks. And when you do have to go in with scissors, you risk having a mishap where you might accidentally cut off a lock or cut into a lock too much or just completely mess up a lock. Nobody wants to do that. So like I said, please take my advice, go in there, regularly inspect your locks. Even if you go to a loctician, don't wait on your next retie or your retwist before you go through and inspect and check your hair. You need to know your hair and you need to know what it's doing way before you go in to get your retie done or your retwist. All right, keep check on what your hair is doing, what your hair is telling you, and make sure that you act accordingly in enough time to make a difference before it's too late and you're having to do surgery. Don't want to take it to surgery. So be proactive and take the steps needed ahead of time. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button so that I know what type of content you're enjoying, and also hit the subscribe button so that you can join the flock. And before you go anywhere, check out some of the other videos that have popped up on the screen. I'll see you there.